Hey guys, how's it going? This is Beau from the Sonic Road podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to say thanks to everybody who tuned in to episode 7 with our good friend Dave Hillis. We went out to Pittsburgh recently and did a live podcast with him out at the recording studio, The Vault, and we had a blast. It was an awesome time, very inspiring to be around that guy. Good dude, legendary guy, legendary engineer, producer, has done a lot of great work. So tune into that episode if you guys are fans of grunge, fans of the rock band Pearl Jam, Temple of the Dog, Blind Melon, Alice in Chains, and the Afghan Wigs, so many more, man. We had a really epic conversation there. So again, I just want to say thanks to everybody tuned into that. Uh, that said, before we get started on episode 8, I appreciate all the support. If you guys could go over to YouTube, subscribe to our channel over there, just search us at The Sonic Road, hit subscribe, and then hit that notification button at the top. That really helps the show out and helps us get some more reach so we can get some really cool guests on here. So, that said, today's episode, again, is episode number 8, and it features our guest, Michael Miley. Uh, Mike's a drummer and founding member of the rock band Rival Sons. I've been a fan of the Rival Sons for many years, probably going back to around 2013. I had a friend give me their Pressure and Time record, and that was probably on a Friday. And by that Sunday of that weekend, I had pretty much owned all their records. So that's always awesome when that happens, when you find a new band and they have like 4 or 5 albums, and you can just dig in and just take it all in and just become a super fan, man. So that's what happened to me with Rival Sons as a fan. Me and Mike talked for quite a while, so this is a longer episode. So just tune in, sit back, hit play, and if you guys are drummers specifically, we get into a lot of drumming techniques, just approach, and then we get into the long and awesome and amazing career Rival Sons has had so far. I don't think they're even close to quitting. So I think they're just getting started, but they've toured all over the world with pretty much everybody. And I can just name a few. They were the sole opening act for the last Black Sabbath tour back in 2015, handpicked by Ozzy and Sharon themselves. They've also toured with Deep Purple, Clutch, Fu Manchu, and many, many, many others. So I don't want to ramble too much because, like I said, this episode is a little bit longer. So we'll just get right into it. Again, appreciate all the support, and we'll be back real soon. But this is episode 8 with drummer and founding member of the rock band Rival Sons, Mr. Mike Miley.
You're great at articulating the approach around the drum kit. So I know you do online lessons. Do you remember your first drum teacher and what was the impact on you? If you can remember them.
Yeah, no, I was 9 years old. My ninth birthday, I got a CB 700.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Uh,
700.
Technically a gold sparkle, but it looks orange.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always called it orange. And I had like drum nerd friends of mine that know what a like tension rod is. I don't, as much as I know about drums, I don't know specific. I don't even know what the screw on top of the cymbal. I think it's a nut or a washer or a
Probably. Yeah.
thing that screws on top of the
Yeah.
cymbal to keep it down.
Yeah. You
I
don't
I
need to
don't
know
know. The throw off. I know the throw off for the snares.
that. Right.
Clutch for a hi hat. I know that.
Definitely.
So anyway, I had a CB 700 and there was a music store in town, Fullerton, California, Orange County, and teeny little box of a room. So it's like one little rubber practice kit, like a practice pad kit, not even a real drum set. And the teacher would sit there. He had a music stand and he said, first lesson, 9 years old. So like, what are you into? Like, what is there any songs you want to learn? And he was just kind of, interviewing me.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, I want to learn Rosanna and Little Black Spot on the Sun Today. And I didn't know that King of Pain was the name of the song. And so the Police, King of Pain. So it's like, it's classic song.
Yeah.
Just Stuart Copeland reggae, right?
Yeah.
I
Right.
didn't know that was reggae. I didn't know what that was. And I just loved how the sound of Stuart, that whole synchronicity album, when it came out, I guess I'm aging myself right now, but when it came out, I was 9 years old. So
Yeah.
Thriller, Toto 4,
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA,
Absolutely. Yeah. We're the same
80
age, practically. So yeah.
84 Olympics,
Mhm.
all that, so Rosanna, like, arguably two of the hardest grooves of that time.
Sure.
And I think I was a bit ahead, I was ahead of myself, but ahead of my time. I wanted to learn Rosanna before it was cool.
Right.
Because this is like 1983. And
Right.
because when I heard that, I was like,
That's your jam.
yeah. And my dad raised me on Toto. So from Hold the Line on, we were Gift with the Golden Gun or Toto Turn Back. So the albums leading up to Toto 4, my dad bought them and played them all the time. And he's like, that's Jeff Porcaro on drums. And then we put on Boss Skaggs and he's like, that's Jeff Porcaro on drums. And then I went and saw Boss Skaggs. It was my first concert. And my dad's like, that's Jeff Porcaro on drums.
Wow.
And so, Silk Degrees and Lowdown, like, ooh, I wonder. That's like Jeff Porcaro, dude, on that whole album. Silk Degrees, Boss Skaggs, great album. Has a Lido Shuffle. I just heard in one of the NFL playoff games.
Right on.
As a montage. Anyway, so the guy was like, the drum teacher, he's like, okay. And he wrote out the ghost note pattern for Rosanna. But he's like, I just want to start you in the first beat I ever got shown by a drum teacher. Cause I knew Billie Jean.
Right.
I was shown that by my dad, but I was shown it on my legs.
Right.
But this teacher, and I wish I knew who he was or what his name was. I forgot his name. He showed me kick, hi-hat, snare, hi-hat, kick, hi-hat, snare, hi-hat.
Yeah.
Kind of Charlie Watts thing,
Definitely.
And then he showed me same day. So he's like, learn both these for every stroke you play, do it twice. So
Okay. Yeah.
So kick, hi-hat, snare, hi-hat. So those were the first two things I had written on a page.
Okay.
And so yeah. Does that answer your question? That was a long answer.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, it's definitely an impact on you. Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. I took lessons probably a little bit later in life, like late 80s. And I can't remember my first two teachers either. I feel bad about it but I remember their faces. I remember being in the room with them, but it's like, yeah, it's been so long ago now, man. Mike, we're getting older. Damn it.
I know.
I assume you've maintained the ability to read and use charts still. Then do you use that skill in Rival Sons during the songwriting process, or is that just more for practice?
Well, let's just say I have an extensive, I feel like it's bragging. It's not bragging. I have an extensive history with big band drumming. And so 2 years in high school, 7 years in college. It took me 7 years to graduate. So for all you university guys, take your time, man. There's no hurry.
Yeah. First 2 years, their party.
Well, yeah, they were. My goal was to get signed by get a record deal and go on tour.
Absolutely.
And music schools, I went to Fullerton Junior College and then Long Beach State, Cal State University, Long Beach.
Okay.
And I wanted 24-hour access to a practice room. And because I didn't have an electronic kit.
Right.
So
those were rare back then.
Shout out to Roland TD50, KC200 amp. Has great low end, dude. I don't know if you can hear it in the.
I can hear it definitely. I'm gonna have to. I'll send you a message when I'm ready to get some advice from you. Like, what do I get, man?
Yeah. Well, I do lessons online for anybody online. I do Zoom lessons and it's just like this. This is And it's funny because I post, hey, I'm opening a slot of like five new students, like first 5 DMs or whatever.
Right.
We'll direct message. So hit me up. I do this all on Instagram, and I suppose I should check my Facebook Messenger because maybe I'm missing a lot of potential students there. Makes me think because my Instagram always posts on my Facebook, but I do everything on Instagram, and I have TikTok, I double when I do like drum stuff. I'll double on TikTok and YouTube and see which platform does the best. Most of my views tend to go through Instagram and Facebook.
Right.
And TikTok is crazy, man. If you get like into the algorithms and
oh my God. Yeah, we just got on it. It's insane. Like we're still trying to figure it out. We got it on.
What's cool is it's cool. It's got a really cool algorithm thing. So like being a drummer, like my feed is like tons of like cool drummer stuff. And there's so many amazing drummers.
Absolutely.
What's funny is some of our fans, rival sons, will, of course, it's like, if I'm a Yankee fan, I'm gonna, you're gonna love Aaron Judge, no matter what. And it's like, if you're a Boston Red Sox fan, Aaron Judge is Satan.
Yeah, right.
And so I get that there's a home team thing, but our fans say I'm like pretty good, or they'll say even very superlative language, and I'm just like, have you turned on like TikTok? Look at these guys, Stefano. God, I always get his name messed up.
You have a beard.
Yeah, he's a sensation.
Oh my God!
And, he just posted a thing on how if you try to monetize online, he doesn't make that much money, and he gets millions, tens of millions of views.
He does. Everybody was telling him to join Slipknot. I was like, yeah, that'd be the band for you, dude. That didn't work out for him.
I think he submitted a video, a demo. Oh, he posted his audition tape.
Oh, he did. He did do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, and then I don't think he did Primus, but anyway. So I just think it's funny when people, say I'm this great thing. What I agree with is I'm lucky. I count my blessings every day that I'm in Rival Sons. Like I started it with Scott. Scott had a band. Right. He was going for this, let's throwback blues kind of thing, and doing not so much throwback, but writing and recording the way it used to be done. Like, because in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, late 2000s, the only thing that was real and raw was like Jack White, White Stripes, and Dead Weather.
Right.
That was like the only thing that I know of, where it didn't sound like a click track or like a grid, and up to there, it's like
too back then, where they were
what's
really,
that?
The Black Keys too back then, they were really great. Before they got big.
Yeah. Black Keys. I remember seeing them in this community center, like teen music day or something in Hollywood.
Yeah.
At this place, it was like 220 people capacity, and there was like, I want to say like 70 people. It was like 1/3 full.
Yeah.
And they were on this tiny stage, and I remember because I'm, kind of a drum nerd and music school, and I just remember seeing their drummer, and I'm like, who is this hack? and then I wrote it off. They were not big yet. And and then Brothers came out, and I was just banging my head, and I could tell the drummer was a little loose, but it had like a character, a flavor.
It did. Yeah.
And then I remembered, is it Patrick?
Patrick.
Yeah. Met him and his wife at K-Rock Christmas one year, and just a heck of a guy. And like his wife gave me his drumsticks and stuff. So I have his drumsticks. Yeah. I have them somewhere around here.
I'm from Akron, so we used to bump into him occasionally, out and about in town. He doesn't know who I am, but I've seen him a few times back when they still lived in Akron. I think they went down to Nashville, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, this kind of like, exemplifies my example. Like Patrick, not like Vinny Colaiuta, like, Dennis Chambers, but he's in a cool band. Meg White. Yeah. and even kind of slowing down a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, they were rough around the edges, man.
dude. And the vibe I always got was like Jack, because I remember at first they said they were like I thought they were brother and sister, and so I'm thinking, okay, Jack is clearly a great musician. He probably knows how to play drums, and he's probably showing her what to do. That was
Right.
my synopsis of the thing, because her parts sound really written, you know.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's
but
right.
she's one of my favorite drummers too.
Yeah.
And Patrick became one of my favorite drummers. And it's like Ringo's the super simple, but he's playing drums with the greatest songwriting team of all time, you know?
That's what matters,
And
man. I mean, at the end of the day, is the songs.
yeah,
All the three of those bands have strong songs. So I mean, it's like you don't have to be super technical to pull that kind of stuff off. You have
yeah.
that feel though, and that's what matters, I think.
Well, and so Jay Buchanan, the singer of Rival Sons,
Right.
was a local Fullerton. When I got into his band, his solo band, we rehearsed in Fullerton. So it was like my life was coming full circle, and went to Fullerton, then went to Long Beach State, then went back to Fullerton to play with this band with Jay. And I was like, I was a fan. I was a fan of his, and like I would go see his band play. And Jay, when I first met Jay, I had a business card because I was gigging around town and trying to get in a band and stuff. And I met Jay. I saw him it wasn't an open mic night, but it was like a singer-songwriter night at this blues club. So Monday nights, there's nobody there. Like it was a cool blues bar, you know, Thursday,
Right.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And like during the week, they would do local artists and stuff like that. And so Jay comes in. Well, a friend of mine goes, dude, you got to hear this guy sing. Like he's insane. And at the time, I was studying with John Molo, drummer of Bruce Hornsby for 20 plus years.
Okay.
Then he was Phil and Friends. He got into that world.
Okay.
Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
And so John Molo, I studied with him for 3 years.
Yeah.
And he's such a great teacher. He's such a far out guy too. And I remember one day I said, if you had like one piece of advice that you would give, you know? And, you know, it wasn't like, get your paradiddles up to 220 on the metronome, some crazy thing like that. He's like, meet producers and meet lead singers, like network. He was telling me basically go out and network. And of course you want to play and meet bass players and guitar players. And, you know, when you go out and gig, you're going to meet all kinds of musicians, but you really want to distill your attention for career advancement on lead singers and producers.
Right.
And so I had just gotten that advice, and I saw Jay, and I'm like, I'm going to shamelessly introduce myself. I don't care if he says, shut up, idiot, or whatever. And I went up to him. I remember this distinctly. I said, I love your voice. I love your songs. I'll play drums with you any night of the week. Here's my card. And he's like, oh man, thanks. And I knew he had a drummer, Chris Powell, who ended up being Dave Cobb's like first call guy and played Brandy Carlisle, and all these cats ended up moving to Nashville and becoming a cool Nashville session guy. Yeah. So Jay's first drummer was Chris. And I said, if Chris ever calls in sick, I'll fill in.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. Shake hands. And, you know, he's putting his cables away and his guitar away. And there's like 5 people in the club. Right. And Blue Cafe in Long Beach.
Okay.
And so I met Jay like there. And so again, this is a long answer to your question. The songs that he writes, I need to be a part of that. I need like his voice and his emotion that he's, you know, just oozing out of himself. It needs like some emotional support, so to speak, a foundation that I just knew in my gut, like I can support that. I know what he's doing. Right. And so 10 years later, so anybody's struggling with patience or like, oh, my career there's nothing happening. I got to get this, you know, I'm only playing this church gig every other Sunday. And this one blues band, they only play one time a month. Like, dude, keep getting out there, keep
networking,
keep persistence. 10 years later, he's the lead singer of Rival Sons. And so,
Wow, it's going back a ways.
yeah, dude. So like, if you're in the music scene, another piece of advice I got is, it's not really, I guess it's cussing. Don't be a dick. And
That's a big one.
which is basically another way he framed it was make friends everywhere you go.
Right.
And it's like, that's just a kind of just being nice, not nice guy, like being a pushover, but
Yeah.
not being a dick is like will get you really far.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
people in the
and
industry.
you never,
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
sorry, you never know if you're the bass player on the gig you're doing. He's kind of like mediocre, but then, and so like he's not worth his salt. I'm not gonna be nice to him, or I'm not gonna give him a time of day after the show. And you're packing up gear, and he says, "Hey, let's grab a beer after the show." And say, "Oh no, I'm too good for this guy, right?"
Oh my gosh.
Then that guy ends up getting the Lady Gaga gig, or so.
Yeah.
You never know who's gonna get what gig, or he's gonna super practice, and 3 years later he's got the Gaga gig, and he really loved your playing, but you were a dick that night.
Yeah.
He's like, screw that guy. I'm not that. You're not going to be in his database. His
because you remember
like
dickheads.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
You never.
And
Like, oh, that guy-
I've even played with people who are so ripping, but I'm like, I don't want to be on the road with them for 6-8 weeks
in a van or a buff.
Yeah.
Be
And
terrible.
so, there's all that. And then because I'm on this line of reasoning, and then I'll give you back the mic, dude. The third greatest piece of advice I got is don't quit. And so all these things go together.
Right.
Network, don't be a dick, and
Never-
be persistent and be
Right.
tenacious. Don't quit.
Right. So that's the universal, man. I mean, there's younger guys enough now, and the ones that are in the industries give that same
Right.
exact advice. It doesn't change. That's universal, and it's timeless. So that's great advice. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, getting back to it, I mean, here's what's crazy. I tell a lot of people about Rival Sons. I've sold a lot of Rival Sons records for you guys. I just want to let you know. So I've just
Thanks.
spread the word
Okay.
over the last 10 years. But I mean, you guys go into the studio. Well, you used to. I know that's changed now, but you used to go into the studio for the first 4 or 5 records, and no material are really prepped. And you said earlier that you guys were searching for that old school approach. Given your style of drumming, I mean, how many of those early songs were written around a drum part? I mean, were you guys jamming when you go in to figure out the song, and then a drum part would come and everybody would? Did that ever happen? Like a vocal would come out of like a drum riff or a guitar riff, vice versa, something like that.
Early on, it's like Scott would have a riff.
Yeah.
Early on, Scott kind of composed everything. He even had drum loops and stuff. He's
Oh, wow.
very, very producer minded.
Yeah.
Then when we all formed Rival Sons, and it was all 4 of us sweating in a rehearsal room,
Mhm.
we used to share with Veruca Salt, the band
Wow.
Veruca Salt. They were had since, this is long since the 90s when they were doing their thing. They still had like all their gear there, and they were doing reunion shows. I played with them on a tour of Australia. Their drummer, I guess, I don't know where their drummer was, but I filled in for Veruca Salt. So that's how I made that connection. But we would like write together, but it mainly came off like a riff that Jay had written in his solo stuff.
Oh.
Like Torture, our song Torture was kind of a porch stomping, like blues thing. And Jay had it like a little mini cassette thing, early on.
Yeah.
Where he's just kind of ding, 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 ding on just finger picking a guitar and stomping his foot. You could hear his foot in the recording.
Right.
And ding, 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 ding,
Which is
ding,
awesome,
ding,
by the way.
Ding, ding, dong, ding, dong, ding, 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 ding. And here comes another one. Just like subdued singing. They've been over the hill. Like, if you listen to it, it's super bluesy.
It's very bluesy.
And like
it swings behind it.
people call us hard rock, and I'm like, dude, when I think of hard rock, I think of, I don't know, like harder than this, like Judas Priest, or Scorpions or, even AC/DC.
Yeah.
AC/DC's blues, man.
Yeah.
Angus Young is pentatonic blues all day. And
Phil Rudd, forget about it, man. I mean, he's been coming up in our last couple podcasts. We talk about Phil Rudd all the time. Like my band, we're like trying to throw a cover in. It's like, we should do a whole lot of Rosie. So we're like trying it. I was like, this should be easy. And man, my wrist started swelling up because that hi-hat. It's hard to articulate Phil Rudd, man. I just had Dave Cruson on from Pearl Jam, the guy that did the first Pearl Jam record.
Killer.
We talked about that same thing. It's like, how do you articulate that guy? Like playing it, listening to it, it sounds pretty rudimentary, but then you play it and it's like, I don't know how he achieved that sound that way. I mean, it's physical to me. I mean, unless I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. It's hard, but
yeah. And there's no ride cymbal.
No ride ever. Yeah.
When you play AC/DC, my friend he was doing this AC/DC cover band. He was covering, so it wasn't like a thing for him, but he's like, I remember getting in the first rehearsal, I had my ride cymbal, set up. And then he's like, I just kind of noticed I never used my ride cymbal.
Yeah.
And it's all like,
yeah.
And
Lars from Metallica didn't either. He's another one of those guys. Never used the ride for a long time. I guess he did early. He did early on and Kill 'Em All, but after that he stopped for a long time. Yeah. It's weird. But people, they prefer what they prefer, I guess. It's just how it feels, I guess.
Yeah. So like our EP and everything, we're kind of just putting stuff together. And then we got in with Dave Cobb.
Right.
And we did the EP with Cobb. We did the first album with Cobb. When we went in for Before the Fire, Scott had all these songs on demos, produced, and me recording, drum loops, like all sorts of stuff. And then Cobb's like, cool, yeah, all right. So we're gonna go in and get to your stations. Everybody get to your instruments, and then then we'll go from there. And so he's like, get out there and get on your instruments. And then he's kind of like goes into the talk back like day one, like, all right, Scott, mate, come up with a riff, like on the spot. And then, I don't know what it was, but like, Tell Me Something in Angel were kind of pre-written on our first album, but we came up with like Pocket Full of Stones on our first album.
Right.
I think we just wrote that right on the spot. Okay. It's two notes.
Yeah.
So, but it's a cool riff, like does that the whole song, but it's one of the most classic riffs in history. So riffs are simple, and of course I was thinking Bonham, like what would Bonham do? And I had the 26 kick, and I'm like shamelessly, like inspired by, or you could say ripping off. I don't care. I'd like rip off Bonham, rip off Neil Peart, rip off Jeff Vaccaro.
Right.
Like you're always going to be you.
Of course.
So, and now like if Rival Sons writes a song and I'm like, like a classic groove.
Right.
And you're like, that's crossing the line a little bit. Like, so, I mean, people said we ripped off for Pressure and Time, that the Led Zeppelin 3 song. I can't think of the song. All I need from you is all you know. All you know. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum.
That's not a rip-off.
Huh?
That's not a rip-off. That's, you're emulating a little bit, but I mean, it's like, time is Pressure and Time.
Yeah, it's the only thing it has an arpeggio in it, which ours is minor, Zeppelin's major.
Right.
I mean, I could tell you 15 reasons. Bonham's on the hi-hat, I'm on the ride cymbal. Yeah. I was trying to conjure, like, if you want to get behind the mind of like my drum parts, I'll be like, what would Alex Van Halen do? Like, I'm feeling, when I hear a riff, I'm like, oh, this feels Van Halen too. Like, this feels like that energy or something, or anybody. I'm trying to channel like a spirit, like channeling the gods of rock and roll or whatever. But so, and then like, I always loved how Alex played the bell of the ride cymbal so aggressively. And like shameless aggression, just to, keep talking about now.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 ding, 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 ding.
He's underrated, man. No, I don't think enough people talk about Alex. I think Eddie kind of took the spotlight from him a little bit. He's a badass drummer. I mean, so
Dude, so musical,
Yeah.
so swings,
hot for teacher.
but even like, hot for teacher, of course, but even some of those like Top Jimmy and like all those, like those are also super swingy, like,
Right.
and dude, he's a revolutionary drummer and classic, one of the most notable snare sounds. Like when you hear that snare,
Yeah, you're
that
right.
big open ringy snare, that's like his signature,
That is.
And
And he achieved it over and over and over again. Well, like it's like Bonham too. I mean, wherever they would record, he always sounded like Bonham, man. I mean, it was like unmistakable. And then you get like later in the 70s, like when Hart came around, they took that drum sound and emulated it completely,
oh yeah.
Did you
And you know
see-
what? Like I love Heart. I love Barracuda. And Barracuda's kind of shamelessly ripping off Immigrant Song, but
Oh yeah, they're great.
like it's so cool because the song is good. It's
Yes,
like
yeah.
he's like, he's going,
Yes.
he's doing that kind of paradiddle sound. I think of that as a paradiddle, like
Yeah.
the kick drum is just a right hand of a paradiddle, right?
Yeah. Going back to Bonham a little bit, now you got me on Bonham.
I'll talk Bonham all day.
Did you get a chance to see Becoming Led Zeppelin?
Twice.
Yeah. Well, it was an emotional thing. I mean, how they did that movie, I want to watch it again, but how they incorporated that unreleased interview with the rest of the guys, and you could tell like a couple of them had never heard it before. So it was pretty emotional film for me. It was, a little
I cried
sad because he wasn't there, but he kind of, they made it to where he was, and it was really cool.
I cried 5-6 times, like not falling like a child, but like just welling up, like oh my god, this is like, I cried like when they were talking about playing Train Kept a Rolling, like in that first rehearsal spot, and you see that picture of Bonham sitting at a kit, and I don't even know if that's the picture of him in that first rehearsal, but it's like you get the idea. It was like an early picture, and the story of getting him in the band. We went to Rival Sons. We got blessed to see the pre-screening. So it was before the premiere, but we went to IMAX headquarters to see a pre-screening, and the director was there, and I met the director, and I'm like, because my local theater didn't play it loud enough. So I don't know where you saw it, if you were happy with the sound, but at the IMAX theater it was like so loud. I think they gave it some extra juice because it was like a rock concert. Like it was loud.
Yeah.
And when you hear, when you hear it like hits you every tom, every kick drum.
That's
and
amazing.
I was like, this sounds different. This doesn't, it's exactly communication breakdown. That's the recording that's on the album, but this sounds different. So after I met the director, kind words, shake hands, man, I'm drummer of Rival Sons. Oh, cool. And just making small talk. And I go, I have to ask you, did you remix the sound?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he's like, he's like, as a director, he's like, I'm so glad you noticed. He's like, we used the original lacquers for the pressing of the vinyl,
Right.
So it was like unfiltered, just like direct original sound.
That's amazing.
And it's cranked in the mix.
As it should be.
Yeah. Dude, and then you think they didn't really say it, but Bonham was like 17, 18, 19 years old in this time period.
I know. It's insane.
And he's like married. Like,
Really
I'm like,
developed player. Like, where'd you come from? Another planet? It's wild. And all the influences he had too. I mean, those Eastern backbeat influences that he has. Like, where the hell did you hear this music in 1965 in England? It's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a special band, man.
And James Brown was pretty well known, And they kind of highlighted that he was into Clyde Stubblefield and J-Bo, like,
Yeah.
and I mean, imagine hearing like Man's World, like that drumming, that's like slow blues. That's if you listen to that and then think of Bonham, like what he was inspired by, it definitely informs. So he's an R&B drummer, and
Sure.
Keith Moon is an R&B drummer.
Yeah.
Charlie Watts is an R&B drummer.
Yeah. Another one.
Ringo Starr is an R&B drummer. They were doing Fats Domino, Chubby Checker, Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry.
Sure.
That was R&B. That was like rhythm and blues.
Sure.
And so Bonham did it on, big gigantic drums. Like,
Yeah. Wide open, man. Just an innovator that way. I mean, drums, that's when drums really started to sound good on recordings, in my opinion. I mean, before that, they were kind of always in the background. But once the Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page starts producing, they figure out how to record the drums like that. It just took it to a whole it took rock and roll to a whole next level,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was something else. Yeah, it was a great film, man. I want to go see it again. I didn't cry, but I almost did. I can't, I got a little emotional watching it. You get a little older and you're like, God damn it, they were just kids. I mean, even when he passed away at 30, it's like, that's young as hell, So it was all that. And then watching them react to what he was saying, you could tell there was like a comfort level for them hearing his voice too. We don't get to hear him just talking a lot. He didn't do many interviews. So it was a very good film.
Yeah.
Definitely want to check that out. I'd like to hear on
I'm going to get back to a question you asked me. Did we ever write anything based on a drum group?
Oh, yeah.
We wrote one song. And I mean, Thundering Voices, Scott and I were riffing together in the studio, and he was he was trying to find that riff.
Yeah.
And
Hollow Bones. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's something like that.
Yeah.
So Scott was going, so I'm hearing that, and I'm hearing like, it's like, as a Latin, somebody who studied Latin for years, I hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I hear, it's called Partido Alto. It's like the clave of Brazil.
Right.
So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One's on the up, and one's on the down, one's on the up. And so I'm just thinking of, okay, this is going to be syncopated. So come up with something syncopated. And so we're just kind of back and forthing it.
Okay.
And I don't know if Scott will not agree, but like give his blessing to this, but this is how I remember it and how I know it happened is once I got this going.
Yeah.
And then Cobb was like, Miley, keep doing that. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
So then once I was doing that, Scott finally went dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
Bam 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 dun dun. So there's so much space for the drums to kind of shine through that.
Right.
And it's like, that's what I loved about the Who is jigga bam bam jigga bam me. Yeah. Like, it's free for all,
Yeah.
Keith Moon's my favorite.
Yeah, he's a
Keith, the
party.
spirit. I like Bonham, the R&B of Bonham, the sound of Bonham, the spirit of Moon, the swing of Mitch Mitchell, Tom, the tribal tribalism, tribal nature of Ginger Baker, and the song approach of Ringo Starr.
Right.
That's what I'm conjuring, in my character.
Well, that's a good group to conjure from, for sure.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not, you'll hear stuff and I'm going like, that first thing I'm thinking of is Ginger Baker, da 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 bum bum,
Yeah. Great.
I'm trying to mute the drums, and they don't mute because they're electronic.
Not or anything. Now, if you had a full kit, it would be like, what? Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that approach, you do those first 4 or 5 records with that approach. You guys kind of
Yeah.
switched gears with around the time of Feral Roots. What brought about that change? You guys wanted to do more pre-pro on the material. Is that right?
Yeah. On that album, Scott and Jay took not a sabbatical, but it was the first time, like, they rented a house and went out into the forests outside of Nashville, like an hour and a half,
Yeah.
where there's snakes and lakes and, tall brush. And
Yeah.
and they got a bunch of food. They were like, cell phones didn't work, no reception. And so they wrote a bunch of stuff. They recorded like 6 like ideas, and one of which ended up on our last album, which was called Dark Fighter.
Yeah.
Like real harmonies, lush harmonies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the finger picking style guitar. It was very, very country, not country and Western, but just like, it feels like with the acoustic, it's like, I don't know, like you're walking out on a trail,
Right.
hiking or something. I don't know. It just felt very nature. And so they did those songs. And then we did that in like, up to then, every album we did with Cobb was like, we rented the studio out for 30 days, 28 days. We did one in 21 days. I think that was Pressure and Time. Like 21 days, done.
Yeah.
Recorded, basically mixed, came back for some stuff, and then maybe mastered. But recorded, guys in the room playing, Jay singing, all the notes are recorded in 21 days.
Right.
And so we would go in and we'd write a song a day.
Right.
And try to get and record it.
Yeah.
And that was, so what you're hearing is like our most of the time is bass guitar, drums trying to go to tape.
Right.
And then if bare minimum, you need a drum take to start layering and overdubbing.
Yeah.
So, and then it was like, we would be doing it. We'd have a riff, and then Cobb might say like, where's this going? Does it need a pre-chorus or maybe we start with a chorus. It's like, okay, we need a verse for this. Okay. Like so there's a big chorus. Let's do like a broke down verse, or let's do a banging verse or whatever. Or like, this thing is never going to quit the whole song. And so we have kind of a roadmap, you always you get the most freedom when you have boundaries, And so, which is kind of
it makes that
oxymoron or whatever.
Discipline is freedom, like Jocko says. If you know Jocko,
yeah,
I'm sure you do.
But like because so like, give me only what I need. Okay, where am I gonna go on the chorus? And Cobb's like, stay on that bell, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna play the bell the whole song, the whole song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Charlie Watts doing this. I don't think there's a fill in that whole song.
Right. That dude's high.
Might be
crazy.
So yeah. Sometimes less is more and all that stuff. Like, just play the same beat, same vibe. I change up the kick drum pattern in the chorus of Pressure and Time a little bit, but I'm not changing it because I'm like, oh, this is a new part. I'm gonna play a new part. There's a new mood. There's a new mood. Like the verse is like a working man just pumping his fist at the Lord. It's Lieutenant Dan on top of the the mast of the ship.
Yeah.
God, strike me down with lightning. It's that's blues. It's the blues, like,
for sure.
And then it's like the chorus is like, can you build it up? Like the low voices. It's kind of like the late 70s Temptations or something.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I need to get like more of the same beat, more of a pattern, like disco or I think it's 70s. I think of or Gap Band. It's just, it's the same, same thing over and over, kind of loop.
Right.
Anyway, I wanted to be more consistent in that. But I still had to bang Bill the ride cymbal.
Yeah. It worked out.
But with compression, just to let people behind the curtain, Cobb had so much compression on the drums that I couldn't barely hit the cymbals. Because if you hit the cymbals too hard, when compression, so your overhead mic, he had the overheads like going through like actual Fairchilds or Chandlers or whatever he had, And when you turn up that input on the compression, it's you can hear the drummer breathing. Like the famous recording Ramble On, I think you can hear Bonham's kick pedal squeaking.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so that's compression because it's picking up the quietest thing in the room, and it's compressing down the loudest thing.
Right.
And so,
just curious, I wasn't planning on asking you this, but have you ever tracked just recording the drums and then going back and recording the cymbals? Because a lot of drummers are doing that now.
No,
which is wild. I can't wrap my head around it.
Dave Cobb is, I don't want to say old school, but he likes the sound of the ensemble. The whole kit's an ensemble, and it's creating an there's an energy. It's like
for sure. Yeah.
It's like when you're an artist is painting, when he's mixing colors, it's not like, okay, 0.68 red and or when you see RGB in computers, when you're doing colors in computers, it's like 248, 137, 342. Like, no, it's like, no. I just want a lavender that I can smell the flower.
Right.
And that might be what the painter's thinking. But when you see like Van Gogh or Monet, like, I feel like I can smell the lavender, it's like,
it's there enough.
Yeah. So Cobb is about the ensemble.
Yeah.
But Shooting Stars off of Feral Roots was written on top of that drum beat. And it was day one session. First day in the studio, band shows up. First thing you do is get drum sounds and you build from there.
Right.
And so I think I was sitting down and I just had Phil Collins in my mind because he's one of my favorite drummers.
Yeah.
So, Easy Lover, dude.
Which one?
Phil Collins and Philip Bailey.
Yeah.
She's an easy lover.
Okay.
You got a hold on me, believe it. Do that, do that, do that, do that. And it's like gated reverb, just huge drum sounds, But I was hearing in the room in RCA in Nashville, and I was just on the kit, just going, sorry. I just was kind of looping a 4-bar pattern.
Yeah.
And while they're getting the drum sounds, I'm thinking they're just dialing in drum sounds. They're recording.
Oh.
And
what the hell?
I look over, Cobb's behind the glass, and he's like, kind of keep doing that. And I'm like, okay.
There's the Phil Collins.
A 4-bar loop from that. And if you hear it, in the verses, it's a 4-bar loop. So they just created that loop so Jay could write.
Oh,
Jay like took it home.
Right.
And which it was so funny. Like at some point, Cobb comes out with a guitar, an acoustic guitar, and he's like, and at first I was thinking of something more like The Who, Imminence Front, like,
right.
And that was kind of what the acoustic was sounding like to me. But Jay made it this whole.
Yeah,
there's still that guitar part that's kind of Imminence Front, but you would never think Imminence Front on that. It sounds like a Tears for Fears song or something. It's weird.
Does Dave help you guys arrange and write a little bit? Is he kind of like the fifth member? I mean, he's been with you guys for so long. Have you like relinquished a little bit, let him come in and?
Oh yeah. We have to. It's certain albums. He's interjecting a little more than other albums, but he's such a good song craftsman that he just knows. Like he knows that like this needs to go to a B. That's the pre-chorus is just B all day.
Right.
B, B, C sharp, B, C sharp. Do that 3 times. Most people want to do it 4 times or 2 times.
Right.
Cobb's like, do it 3 times.
Yeah.
So now Jay has to write lyrics over 6 bars or, know, and so we have a lot of like weird little phrases like that. And that's Cobb And we've kind of adopted that too. Like sometimes you'll hear a band and the verse is 8 bars, but the end of maybe it's like 2 times through the verse, but the end of the second set of 8 is only 7 because
Right.
the lyrical idea is over.
Yeah.
And country music does that a lot too,
Yeah.
where they'll clip off. It's like 10.5 bar. Like that was weird.
Yeah.
And they have those country turnarounds too. And it's like, God, as a drummer, I'm going, okay, I could do this all day, but how am I going to mark a
Right.
10.5 bar phrase?
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's
3,
weird. Yeah.
4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I just did it actually.
AC/DC's got a little bit of shit like that too. Like a whole lot of Rosie's like 11 in the beginning. Like what's this 11 for? It's written completely around the lyrics. You can tell, around.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, man. Seeing how we're on Feral Roots, I know you guys did some at RCA, some of the songs, and then you went over to Muscle Shoals. We were talking about the Black Keys. They kind of got that place kind of revived up with Brothers. What was it like walking into that room? Because that's such a special room. Do you remember walking in the first time and being like, oh, yeah, vibes. We're going to go for this.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first thing I did, I think I walked through the door, and right when I walked in was the corner, and they have it marked off, and it's kind of a museum.
Yeah.
When you're in there, you kind of like can't touch certain things and stuff.
Oh, really?
Like
Yeah.
this one little corner, it's like where Mick Jagger did Gimme Shelter, dude.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my gosh, okay. And then the organ that blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, here's where, Bob Seger did Like a Rock.
Yeah.
And they have all these places marked in there. It's really cool. And everybody's really nice there.
Yeah.
And there was it was like a vocal room and like no bigger than this little space I'm in. I had my Mayer Brothers drums.
Right.
And 26, 14, 18 and a snare.
Yeah.
Just had like a 4-piece kit. And somehow we fit it into this room, and the back of the stool was more forward than I would be comfortable.
Yeah.
So I'm like playing over the snare drum on Feral Roots, Stood By Me. I forgot the 3 songs we did. All Directions we did there. So yeah, it was magical, to answer your question. And then you go downstairs in like the green room, thinking you're looking at this like glass table, and you're like, gosh, how much cocaine was done off this table, And then you're looking up, and it's like Miles Davis, Paul Simon, Bob Seger, just all the albums around, like hundreds.
Yeah.
And they're all on the walls. Like
it's overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like all these albums are done here, dude. And you're thinking like Willie, Waylon, like all the
Skinner, Almonds. Well,
yeah.
I mean, the title song Feral Roots, it reminds the vocals, it's like that is quintessential Muscle Shoals. It reminds the vocals on that with the reverb. It reminds me of a song called One More Time by Skinner, on the last original record they did. And those 2 songs together, it's like, damn, it just brings this like magic to that vocal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so vibey. Those recordings are so vibey. I'm going to open this up for you. What's some of your favorite Muscle Shoals records? You got any recommendations?
Oh, I mean, I love all that stuff Aretha did,
With Dwayne.
What's the album? I mean, a movie. There's a Muscle Shoals movie, and they talk about the band, all those guys that were recording all that stuff, like these old white guys that were
Swampers, man.
Yeah, dude, they were the Swampers, yeah. And playing on all the When a Man Loves a Woman, like all that stuff. Percy Sledge, is his name?
Sledge. Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Percy, no, I'm a name butcher, man.
Yeah, me too.
But so there's a Kodachrome, like all that stuff from Paul Simon, dude. Night Moves and all that from Bob Seger.
Yeah, dude. Night Moves is undeniable.
Yeah, I'm thinking there was some really great jazz stuff, dude. Like that you would not like Pat Metheny and stuff. Like there's these like smooth, what we would call smooth jazz and stuff that's actually just really hip, insane stuff.
Right.
I think Miles did some stuff there too.
Yeah.
So,
I'll have to look into
I mean, of course, the Stones are like those big ones where the Stones did "Give Me Shelter." What's that, like Beggar's Banquet, or I don't know what era that is, but
I think you're right. Yeah, I think that is. I think "Give Me Shelter's" on Beggar's Banquet. That's a great record. I mean, so many deep tracks on that.
yeah,
Well, yeah, I have so many questions to ask you. I wanted to ask you guys about one thing I really, yeah. One thing I admire about Rival Sons so much, you guys have always maintained your independence, although you're on labels. You know, you started your career all right. As I understand it, you guys kept control of your master there, or you licensed them to the label, and then
Yeah.
after the 10 years or whatever, you got them all back. Was it always a plan to start your own record label, I guess?
Yeah, I think we're, even from the first record deal that we signed with Earache Records in the UK, we wanted ownership. We wanted like a say in stuff, and
Yeah.
we wanted, some decision making process. We wanted to own the masters,
Yeah.
and we had a business vision because we knew them. Me, Jay, and Scott had record deals before,
Right.
and I toured the world at that point. And so it's like, get a little bit of experience and kind of like,
Yeah.
the smells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that
Right.
one, I don't want to go near that one.
Right.
And so we wanted to be a little more business savvy
Right.
with the Rival Sons. And we wanted, that we knew about the Peter Grant stories with Atlantic and
For sure.
what going in and owning everything. And Atlantic had no say in album order, like none of that. Right. So
Yeah.
we wanted to assert ourselves. We weren't like mean. We just
Sure.
were,
You're
no, this
protecting
is
it.
how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And we'll go somewhere else if you want to,
Right.
And we knew we had some moxie on this project.
Right.
Robin was this like North Texas bass player, played with Erykah Badu, like
Great player.
and like jam sessions. He's not on any of her records, but there was this Denton, Texas, in the North Texas jazz scene. Like one of my favorite drummers, Keith Carlock, comes from there. He plays with Steely Dan now and does the Wayne Krantz trio, all that stuff. And check out, whoever's listening to the podcast, like check out Keith Carlock and everything he's done. One of my favorite drummers.
Yeah. I'm taking notes.
But yeah, so Robin came out of that. I had come out of this Hollywood music scene.
Right.
Jay had an album out under the name Buchanan.
Right.
So he was already a semi-established singer-songwriter, and Scott had a band. And so we weren't calling it a super group or anything, but we just knew like we assembled a like great thing.
Right.
And we had songs. And so the label idea was always in the back of our mind to be able to release our own stuff.
Sure.
And, I mean, but when we started, we didn't know we were going to be like right now. We're fixing to do our 10th album, so
That's wild, man.
including the EP. It'll be our 10th.
Yeah.
So
I remember when you had 3. I've been around with you guys. Well, I mean, you guys toured with Clutch last year. I saw that tour stop in Cleveland. It was fucking amazing. You guys should do a second leg of that version because it was awesome. Fu Manchu, you guys, Clutch. Clutch is one of those bands that had started their own label 10 years ago, longer than that now. And they're one of the rare cases where you do something like that and they got more successful. Did you have any like powwows with them on that tour? Like, did they give you guys any advice on the record label thing? Or did you guys ever talk to those guys about that stuff?
no, not so much like business stuff. Me and JP hung out a lot. JP always had a practice pad backstage. So he'd have headphones on and he'd just be like playing paradiddles. And I'm like, okay, he's listening to something. I got more into his thing, and he'd be like listening to Chuck Brown or something.
Yeah.
And playing paradiddles to some like go-go music and stuff. But
He's amazing.
And yeah, he's his own world, like his groove, his feel, his approach to the drum. He's playing 6 hours a day off stage.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Like it's like I'll walk in backstage from the bus and I'll hear like I'm like,
He's
okay,
back there
JP's,
playing.
okay, I know where Clutch's dressing room is.
Yeah, right,
So,
right, right. That's
um,
amazing. I mean, you don't hear about that too much. I mean, he is like always playing, always practicing, always playing. He shows. I mean, he's one of the modern day masters of the drum kit, like just a little 4-piece jazz kit or 5 or whatever he's doing now. But
yeah.
yeah, do you guys do any collaborative jams or anything? That would have been cool to see.
No, I wish, man.
Yeah.
They're great. I mean, because in the 90s, they were already established and I was in music school. So I was trying to play Frank Zappa and I was in big band and
Yeah.
I think we just started the interview with that and talking about reading charts. I'm just
Right.
remembering now.
Yeah.
And so like not in the 90s, I was doing like pretty much all big band. Like I wanted to be
Buddy
Greg
Ray.
Bissonette. Greg
Yeah.
Bissonette started, with Maynard Ferguson and then he got
Oh,
the
wow.
David Lee Roth gig. And
Yeah.
Dave,
Yeah.
Greg's a friend of mine and a mentor of mine. I studied with him. I took like 3 lessons with him like 20 years ago.
Wow, really?
And,
Yeah.
yeah, Greg is
Hey,
great, dude.
He's a legend, man. Yeah. In the drumming world specifically,
Oh yeah.
he's fantastic. Yeah, man. Cool stuff. Well, we got a couple more. We've been going for a while. Do you still have time?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
I need to ask you about this because this is so damn cool because I'm a big Sabbath fan. You guys were the lone act opening for Sabbath on their last tour. Are you guys gonna be involved in the very last show in Birmingham?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're on that show. I'm not going to say the song we're going to do, but
Yeah.
Tom Morello is kind of musical director of this whole thing, and it's going to be a show, and Ozzy and the guys are there, and it's like a final like kind of paying homage.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're going to do a Rival Sunset, and maybe cover some Black Sabbath songs.
Yeah. Put some
Possibly.
Spiral Architect in there, do some deep tracks. Yeah, it's Sabbath, man. They're one of those bands that has a jazz feel to them. I mean, it's not just heavy metal. I mean, I tell people that aren't as hip to Sabbath, the deep tracks, everybody knows the hits, but I was like, go listen to some of those deep tracks, man. It's jazzy, it's bluesy. Some of the lyrics are really uplifting too. It doesn't match the dark imagery that band had. They were so impactful and so great. I mean, how was that last tour for? I'm sure that was a thrill of your life, to play with Sabbath for a year or however long you guys.
Whoa, yeah. I mean, first of all, it's like going to school every night. When you see legends and you get to be in that honorable position and you take it seriously. I mean, there was nights where I would just sit perfectly, watch Tommy Clufetos play drums.
Yeah.
There was nights Tony Iommi has an amp off stage that's being recorded as well, or being mic'd.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's his main mic or whatever, but it's like an old, like torn up, 410 speaker, and it looks like the one they probably use. I was thinking, is this the one they recorded Iron Man on?
Yeah.
And so underneath a lot of those big stages, there's like hammocks under there, and a lot of the road crew guys can when they take a break, they'll lay in hammocks and take naps and stuff. So there's like hammocks under there. There's like a little bit of lighting. And I remember just Tony's amp being under there and just listening to these riffs and then like posting up down there and I was laying in a hammock in front of his amp, so loud, dude. And I'm like right in front, I probably have hearing damage from that. And
it felt
I did
good,
that
though.
a few times and just soaking it in. And we got to meet the guys and talk to them regularly and, had a beer, went to Tony Iommi's dressing room and during the tour, they're like, it's a sober tour. No, you can't, if you're drinking, you have to have it in a, in like some kind of concealed carry.
Yeah.
And so like first or second night, me and Scott are invited into Tony's dressing room. And first thing he says, guys, like a beer. And I'm like,
You're like,
what? I thought this was and I guess it's Ozzy, or
for sure. Yeah.
Ozzy's the sober one and trying to get sober.
Yeah.
All that stuff. I don't know anything about that stuff, but
Right.
at the time I was drinking. So I'm like, yeah, okay, solo cup or.
For sure. I mean, you have to do a beer with Tony Iommi,
Of course.
Yeah.
But the elephant in the room is Bill Ward, and obviously everybody wanted to see Bill. And I think Tommy Clufetos, knowing that, came in and did an amazing job.
Right.
And when you saw the show, it's so electrifying and so big and powerful and energetic. And I know Bill had a shoulder surgery. He had maybe a half of a lung removed or something. And just physically, I was just thinking 2.5 hours of like that much power and energy.
Yeah.
Like, nothing. I'm friends with Bill Ward and sweetest person. Like, you think of like the drummer of Black Sabbath is going to be this like, and he's like, when I sat with him and we're talking about jazz and we're talking about Joe Morello and Tony Williams and anyway, I have nothing but respect for Bill, but Tommy Clufetos was a powerhouse, dude. Like, I'm really highly influenced by Tommy Clufetos, and maybe I'm not so much notes or playing or adding like 15, 20 pieces to my drum set. He had like shit everywhere.
It's a big kit.
But if I got the Sabbath gig, I'd have 20 pieces. I've gong bass drums on both sides,
You got to go double kick. You got to do all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
I was, had no idea Guns N' Roses was looking for a drummer. I'm like, dude,
that came out of nowhere. We just talked about it in our last episode. And I'm like, why didn't Matt Sorum, man? This guy named Matt Sorum. Go get him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Spacing on his name, the new guy.
Isaac's Carpenter?
Yeah.
I think that's
Isaac Carpenter. He's great. Old drummer Frank Ferrer. He was with them 18 years. Great friend of mine.
Yeah.
Frank was coming out to see Rival Sons at the Stone Pony in Jersey, like 10, 12 years ago. He was like a fan and he's a friend. To this day, he's a friend.
Yeah.
So it was hard news for us to hear as Rival Sons because we're good friends with Frank. But I wish Isaac the best, and we're going to be opening for them this summer.
Yeah.
So
you guys going back on a tour?
It's going to be fun.
How long are you guys going on tour this year?
It's 10 shows in like 30 days. And then we're doing our own shows surrounding those in Europe. So we usually do a European summer tour. I mean, almost minus COVID, we've done one every summer in some capacity.
Yeah. Any U.S. dates coming for 2025? Or
nothing in the books right now, but I can say that we're thinking and trying and scheduling and calendars and stuff to make a new album. And I don't know when that's going to be, but it's album number 10.
Yeah.
Is in the forefront.
Yeah.
It's not a back burner right now. It's a front burner.
Dave Cobb returning, I'm sure.
We'll reveal that when the press release, when the publicist is not pulling me off screen. It's okay.
Keep it quiet. Right on, man. Well, I look forward to that. Do you guys think you're going to do pre-pro, or are you going to go back to the live thing? And
I've actually heard a few ideas. And I'm terrible at being cryptic, dude. So you're like this close to pulling out some really cool shit.
Come on, tell me. Come on. I swear nobody will see this.
Yeah. I mean, there's the last album, Lightbringer and Dark Fighter, was done a lot on, not like the final. I think actually there is it Mirrors or it's Mercy? I don't know. One of the songs on the last couple albums, it was done during COVID. So Scott and I will write together via FaceTime and I have my Roland setup allows me a lot of freedom to do a lot of different things. That's why we were talking before we recorded that, the electronic drum set is great because if my kids are asleep, or my wife's putting the baby to bed and stuff, I just put on the headphones and I can I can sit out here and I can work on my new breed stuff and with my headphones. And I don't always have to be like playing super loud,
Yeah.
So I love having that freedom.
Yeah.
So we wrote a lot, passing, like I'll record, he'll play a riff and like a verse and a chorus, and that's all I get sent. So I'll just send him a verse and a chorus.
Okay.
Or I'll play to his thing. He plays to a click, and then I'm playing to his guitar part, and then I'm coming up with the beat. And then Scott's really good at editing drums, and so I might send him like a whole 3 minutes of ideas going verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and he might take the like best little chunks and make a demo.
Try to riff out of it.
Yeah, and then by the time we get in the studio, it's almost done. Okay. So it's not Cobb's preferred method.
Right.
Cobb loves that. Like, let's do it right here. Let's do it right here on the spot.
Right.
And I'm like burned down Los Angeles and back in the woods. The songs like those were just like, yeah, that was like my second take or whatever. Yeah. Too bad was put together in seemed like 20 hours. And I remember I fell asleep on the couch because we couldn't figure out how to do this thing. And I sat down going, I know you better than you think I do. And I'm thinking like Rihanna, like some like modern R&B shit. And I'm like, this sounds like a Rihanna song, dude. And I like Rihanna. She's awesome.
Yeah.
And got Nuno Betancourt on guitar, dude. It's great. But I'm like we are more of an R&B band that's just turned up. No, really? Maximum R&B, baby.
That's right. Yeah.
And so Scott had this whole other song. And Jay had this thing, boom, I know you better than he wrote it on a bass guitar.
Okay.
Boom. And it was just like bump, bump.
Yeah.
Bump.
Look what I wrote.
Bump. Duh. But he's singing this riff, and when he recorded that, I think his like parents were visiting and everybody was sleeping, and it's like 2 a.m. So he's like, I know you better, like this loud. Right. So he's like whispering into the recording.
Okay.
So that was like, I heard a demo of that. And then Cobb's like, what key is that in, Scott? This totally other song. Yeah. We could not figure out what to do with Too Bad. And then Cobb's like, Scott, play that riff. And then when you're done with the riff, Jay, go into that verse.
Yeah.
And so Cobb took 2 songs
and put them in.
And I'm laying on the couch, like half sleeping. I can hear this going on. And then I hear, Miley! I'm running in there. Yeah. And it was just like, yeah. I knew it was going to be Doom, Sabbath.
Yeah.
White Stripes.
Yeah.
Like it's a busy riff and it's slow.
For sure.
And I knew it wasn't going to go 1 and boom. Like it wasn't going to be some funky thing. Yeah. I knew it needed to be like Doom. Yeah. I'm thinking Sunny Day Real Estate or something like.
Yeah.
So, and then we went in the verse and I just played an R&B groove. And then we did Too Bad after just hearing those 2 sections and putting them together.
Yeah.
Scott did the guitar solo on the floor. Like that was a first take.
Just ripped it out.
And it was a Grammy-nominated song, dude. First take, but like us, like not even ever rehearsing the song.
Right.
And so anyway, there's those kind of magical moments that things come together.
I mean, and when you write like that, you kind of walk away from it for a while because you're creating other things and you have to go back and relearn it so you don't get sick of it. When you relearn it for tour or whatever, that's a good place to be, man. I mean, creatively and playing live and everything. So
Yep.
Well, we've been going for a while, my man. I really appreciate sitting down and talking to me. I'm a big fan, big fan for a long time. We can do this again. We should do it again sometime. Maybe when you guys get closer to getting a record out.
Yeah, cool. I love talking drums, talking shop, talking Rival Sons, talking paradiddles. Yeah. Anything.
We can do it live too. If you guys have time, you come through Cleveland, we can maybe set up a time. We go out to shows and do podcasts too. So that'd be fun too. If we could do that, that'd be awesome. But
Cool. Yeah.
always depends on time. We're going out to Baltimore to see Elder. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're fantastic. We're going to do one with them, I think. So that'll be fun. We're getting back out because I had another podcast. We used to do this. We used to go to gigs and get in there. The management will let us in and we do them at the show a lot of times, but it's like ever since COVID, man, it's just been Zoom. So we're trying to get back out to gigs and do that because we're fans and we're musicians. So it's just baby steps, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, COVID, that's a whole other topic.
Dude, we could talk about that forever. Yeah. A lot of COVID, lingering still. But man, I really appreciate the time. Any last words, anything you want to say to the fans, anything you want to promote?
No, I'll just see you out there this summer. Well, in 3 weeks, we'll be out with Bush and Filter in Canada. That's going to be fun. So anybody from Canada listening, I'll see you guys there. And, let me know you saw this podcast and we'll say hello. And thanks for having me on again. And Beau Regard or Beau.
Well, that's just Beau. I am just strictly Beau. I am not an imposter. No Beau Regard, no nothing.
Beau and Luke, dude, those are my first, the Apostles. Yeah. Beau and Luke from Dukes of Hazzard.
Me too, dude. That was my favorite show when I was a kid for obvious reasons,
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I'll hopefully get to talk to you again sometime.
Okay. Cheers. Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Take it easy.
Bye.